Hey, hello everyone, and welcome into my YouTube channel today. I'm back at it running GrubHub on this Thursday, March 26th, 2020. I thought what I'd do today is bring you along on each of my drives to the restaurants. I didn't do the first one because the restaurant was closed due to the coronavirus. Right now I'm headed to a Wendy's in Canfield. So I hope you all are doing well, and I do appreciate you joining me today and riding along. Got a beautiful day here in Northeast Ohio. Lots of sunshine, hardly any clouds. It's supposed to get up into the mid-60s. See what the temperature is now. It's nice, I know that. Well, it says 56, but it feels warmer than that. I think that's because of the sunshine. Well, at least today I didn't have to wait so long for an offer. Yesterday I waited an hour and 45 minutes for my first offer. So today I decided to start my block in a different area, hoping to maybe get an order a little bit earlier. Lo and behold, I only waited about 20 minutes and got an offer. GrubHub has what they call hot zones. That's areas where there tend to be a lot more orders coming from. So I went to a different hot zone to sit, and it did make a difference, although it's a Thursday, and Thursdays are usually busier than the first few days of the week. But I'm enjoying the sunshine today. And I hope that you're enjoying whatever type of weather you have, whether you're at home or whatever. And I hope that everyone is doing well health-wise. So I thought I'd talk a little today, since I haven't had a whole lot to talk about some of the places I have lived, and I haven't lived that many places. And by places, I mean cities or states, not individual homes. But different areas of the country where I've lived and what I liked and disliked about the areas. And I'd also like to hear from you guys. Where are you from? Where are you living? What do you like about where you live? What do you dislike? Where would be the perfect place to live for you? Everyone is different. Some people, they're living in the perfect place. Others may not be. So let me know what you think. Since I'm coming up on the Wendy's, I'll hold off for a few minutes on starting that conversation. I will say, it shouldn't come as any surprise that I do love the sunshine. So if we have sunshine in Northeast Ohio, it can't be all bad. We're supposed to use the drive-through here at this Wendy's rather than go inside and pick up the food. I think some Wendy's are still open inside where you can actually go in and pick up the food and carry it out. But this one wants you to use the drive-through. So we have arrived, and I'll be back at you a little later. Well, I've delivered the Wendy's order, and now I'm on my way to Burger King. I'm actually in a McDonald's parking lot. I stopped here to waste a little time since I wasn't getting any offers. But now we're back at it and headed to a Burger King. Been a slow day so far, very slow. So back on the topic of where we've lived and whether you like where you live and what do you like and what do you dislike. I've spent most of my life living in Northeast Ohio, this area and areas surrounding this area. What do I like about it? To be honest, not a whole lot. I'm a baseball fan, and this is a really great area for baseball. There are 5, count them 5, either major league or minor league teams within a 70-mile radius, so within a little more than an hour's drive. You have the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Cleveland Indians, and then 3 of the Cleveland Indians minor league teams. You have the Lake Erie Captains, the Mahoning Valley Scrappers, and the Akron Rubber Ducks. The Rubber Ducks are the AA affiliate, and the Scrappers and the Captains are Class A affiliates. Then if you want to go out another 50 miles, you have the Columbus Clippers, which are the Indians' AAA affiliate. So there are lots of baseball if you like to go to professional ball games. Other than that, to be honest, it's not one of my favorite areas to live in. It could be a lot worse, but not one of my favorites. The weather isn't the greatest. I'm a warm weather person, so I don't like winter. And I know winters can be a lot worse in other parts of the country, but I'm not a winter person. The roads are generally bad. And compared to other places that I have lived, the people aren't as friendly. So why do I live here? Well, my wife's family is all here. She's very close to her family. And that's really important to her. I have family here as well, but I'm not the type of person that has to live real close to my family. Tracy's much more invested, and that's fine. That's the way she is. Nothing wrong with that at all. And we had been in Florida for 9 years, and I'll tell you about that in a few minutes, but we came back here when her father got very sick, and she came back to be with him and help take care of him, and that was the right thing to do. We needed to do it. I'm glad we did it, and we've just stayed since then because the family is here. So it's not that I hate it. It's just I think there are nicer places to live, but a lot of people would disagree with me. A lot of people love the change of seasons and that type of thing. So my opinions are strictly that, my own opinions. After I graduated from college, having spent my entire life in Northeast Ohio, I got a job in Northwest Ohio, and I liked living in Northwest Ohio. I lived in Lima. It was a very nice place to live. At that time, I was in my mid-20s, so I kind of wanted an area where there was more action, and Lima and the surrounding area is pretty much farm country, agricultural area. But the people were extremely friendly, and even though there wasn't a whole lot to do, it was a very nice place to live. I really enjoyed living in Northwest Ohio. After that, I came back to Northeast Ohio. It's like, well, if you enjoyed Western Ohio, why did you do that? And the reason was a job opportunity in Cleveland that I just couldn't pass up. So we are at Burger King. I'm going to go in, get the order, and I'll be right back. So after working, excuse me, cough drop time. After working in Cleveland for about 12 years, lo and behold, our company got bought out by a company in Foster City, California. That's in Northern California, just south of San Francisco. And they were throwing a boatload of money to people who had been with the company for a while to transfer out there to help ease the transition. So I decided to take that opportunity, and we moved out to Northern California. There were a lot of things I liked about Northern California, but it was just a little too far away from what we were used to, and it was a little bit of a culture shock. I'm sure most of you know, Northern California really isn't anything at all like Southern California. I've never been to Southern California, but everyone that I've talked to that's been to both says they're basically like two different states. Loved the weather in Northern California. Loved the beauty in Northern California. And there was a lot of traffic. Most people wouldn't believe this, but The drivers out there were much more considerate than they are in Northeast Ohio. And I'm not the only one who thought that. All of the other workers who came out from Cleveland said the same thing. And the other huge difference that I noticed was that people in Northern California were a lot more laid back than people in Northeast Ohio. You really noticed it in the work ethic. In Ohio, it was nothing for people to work 45, 50 hours a week at the place where I worked. It wasn't expected, but people just did it. Then when we got out to the office in California, they were on a 37.5-hour work week. And after a while, because of the transition, they wanted people to work a 40-hour work week. It was mandated. And you would have thought the sky was falling. Work just was not as important out there. It was a much more laid back atmosphere. Because of the weather, it was a lot more of an outdoor activity area, which was nice. So there were a lot of good things, a lot of beauty out there, a lot of things to do. Just a little too much of a culture shock for us, and I think part of it was that at the time that we moved out, Tracy and I hadn't been married very long, so this was a pretty big deal and a major upheaval in our lives, and I just don't think we were really ready for it. Let's see where we're going now. Maggie's Magic Muffins. Okay. Somebody's ordering some muffins. So after a while, I was able to get a job back in Northeast Ohio. We just kind of started over after about 3 years in California. I did learn an awful lot about people because I became a manager out there, and just in terms of me learning about people, it was the first management type of job that I'd ever had. I learned an awful lot about people, so it was really good. So we came back to Ohio. We were back in Ohio for about 10 years, and then we decided to move to Florida, and I was able to transfer to a branch of Allstate Insurance that I was working at in Northeast Ohio. I was able to transfer down there, so I was able to keep all my benefits and vacation time and that type of thing. Transferred down there, and the plan was to retire down there. Didn't work out that way. Life throws a lot of curveballs at you. And it happens quite a bit actually, where people are in Florida and maybe their health gets bad, or somebody else's health in the family back in Ohio gets bad, or wherever they're from, and they move back to that area. And that's what happened with us. So Florida is the kind of place that you pretty much either love it or hate it. I loved it, but a lot of people hate it. What I liked about it was the friendliness of the people. We made a humongous number of friends down there that are friends with us to this day, even though we've been back in Ohio for about 7 or 8 years. A lot of great people down there, friendly people, fantastic weather. I know people would argue with me on that because the summers just get oppressively hot. I don't mind that as much, but it really bothers a lot of people. The heat and humidity can really be overwhelming in the summer. And I already mentioned sunshine. Deep blue skies. Lots of water where we lived. We lived on the Gulf Coast in Bradenton, Florida. Beautiful area. Loved the wildlife. It was neat watching turtles cross the road and cars stopping for these giant turtles that were crossing the road, or an armadillo. Things that you just don't see very often, especially with the turtles, and you never see an armadillo in Ohio. And being able to go out and pick an orange off a tree and eat it, that was cool. Stuff like that. There were a couple of things, though, that I absolutely hated. The bugs didn't bother me. A lot of people can't stand the gigantic bugs that they have down there. That didn't bother me, but what did was the snakes. I hate snakes. And you'd go out on our little patio there. We had a little bush out there, and every so often you'd go out and sit, look in the bush. Here's a snake all curled up in the bush. Or you're sitting on a bench that we had in the front yard, and all of a sudden here comes a snake practically crawling across your foot. Could not stand it. I remember at church one day, we're ready to go into one of the Sunday school classrooms, and I was up ahead of Tracy or something, and I was kind of walking or waiting for her. I don't remember what the deal was, but all of a sudden I hear her say, "Oh, sweet Jesus." And I look back, and here's a snake going into the Sunday school classroom. And I told Tracy, I said, somehow I don't think that's Jesus. I think that's Satan. So the snakes drove me crazy. Just couldn't stand it. And where we lived, there were raccoons like crazy. Now, raccoons don't bother me, but they would come right up on the porch And what I really loved was we would have squirrels that would come up to the front door of our condo begging for food. That was the neatest thing. But the snakes, no. Could not stand the snakes. All right, we are at Maggie's Magic Muffins. I'll be right back.